Your higher self is always telling you a great place to go. You just have to listen for it. So, this is about practicing getting into that space of consciousness and listening, just listening. Good day, spiritual artists. This is CJ Miller, your host for the Spiritual Artist Podcast. I wanted to share my thoughts with you this morning and see if they help you develop your spiritual awareness. So, I have been, I kind of am growing as we all do every day. I think we're always constantly exploring who we are. And I'm not quite there yet, I think. And I don't know if I'll ever be quite there, but I'm not quite there with understanding what my message is. Um, I get pressured a lot, or at least I feel a sense of pressure from the community to show techniques, to show how to paint, to show how to hold a brush, to show the way I work. And I was pondering that this morning because I know that there's a great amount of success in that. But I don't think that's where my interest lies. That's the truth of it. We listen to that inner voice inside of ourselves to define who we are as a spiritual artist. And as a spiritual artist, I'm someone that focuses on the consciousness, the thoughts, the placement, the sense of love, the release of judgment, all those things that align me with creativity. And it doesn't matter. And so people come to me and they're like, well, what kind of brush do you use? What kind of paint do you use? And um, I guess I get frustrated. So let me explain to you, you can use anything. Okay. An artist can use anything. There is no right tool or brush or brayer or paper. There is no right discipline. All the disciplines are good. And as I explain in my book, you can make a sculpture out of toilet paper rolls and be a spiritual artist. And what am I saying with that? What I'm saying is that spiritual artistry is about lining yourself with that higher self. So you line, I would call it the little Chris. I get little Chris out of the way and I step into my higher self or the divinity within me. I call it the creative intelligence, that an innate creative intelligence that is within me. And then I can use anything at my disposal. I can use my fingers. I can use a paintbrush. I can take a leaf, stick it in the paint, and smear it on the canvas. All of those things are beautiful. And while I think there is a lot of fun, I love going on my spiritual art retreats because there we do actually play with media and methods and different techniques. Um, you can use anything. And so I want you this morning to step back from the need to do it the right way. There is no right way. Physically, on this manifested world, there are many different ways that we can express ourselves. And they're all an attempt to express that inside knowing, that spiritual connection of who we are. So I was talking to my recent interview, and if you haven't listened to the interview with Joe recently about his intuitive painting, I suggest you read it because I love something. We came into an alignment. We had such a great conversation. But one of the things we came into alignment on is getting quiet and listening and focusing our consciousness on this place within ourselves and then expanding it outward. So that is exactly how I get aligned before I approach my canvas. Now, there's so many different ways of doing even that. But one way is to just, this is a weird concept, and it really struck me as weird when I learned it. And I learned it in yoga when my instructor was telling me to focus my consciousness on different parts of my body. So let me repeat that. My instructor was telling me to focus my consciousness on different parts of the body. Have you ever done that? Have you ever sat quietly, closed your eyes in a nice quiet space where you're not interrupted, and just project your conscious presence on a part of your body? There's a wonderful meditation called the 61 Points of Light that I love to do, and I recommend that you Google that and try that. But what you do is you project through the parts of your body. You put that mind's eye. First, you can focus on the center, your center mind's eye, that space between your eyes, and then you move it around. Joe explained, which was really wonderful, how he focuses within himself, and then he focuses himself, and then he focuses the room around him, and he projects his consciousness so that he is the room around him. And then I explained to him how I have also taken that further to express your consciousness out into your neighborhood, into your state, into your country, and into the world, and even as far out as the space of the galaxies. Project your placement, your sense of self outward. With the 61 points of light, you project it inward. So you can sit quietly and you put your thoughts and projection on the tip of your thumb and then your pointing finger. Take a breath. Then your middle finger, take a breath. Then your fourth finger, and you work your way through your entire body. What you're doing is you're grounding yourself in your body. We've talked about this before. I've talked about this before. Your body is a place of healing. This is something you can practice before you sit in front of the easel. And what you want to do is you want to get your consciousness to such a place that when you stand in front of that easel, you feel released. You feel that you do not have to choose a certain tool. You don't have to hold a certain brush. You are in that intuitive space of the moment. You just feel and react, feel and react, feel and react. That's where the joy is. That is where the infinite gap, that infinite gap, that gap of possibilities that Deepak Chopra talks about is. Do you hear me? It's in that place. When we are in the place of, I need to use the right tool, or show me how you do it. You're not in your own consciousness. As an artist, I don't want to teach you how to do what I do. I don't mind if you learn it, but because you can't possibly do what I do, because it's a mix of consciousness and art skills. And when you realize that about yourself, that there is no one else like you that can create a piece of work, you are so empowered because you realize that, yes, you can learn new tools and you can go to workshops. And I always encourage that, meeting other people, mixing ideas, learning their concepts. But once you take the concept, you have to take it within yourself and you make it your own. So when someone teaches you a technique, hold it lightly. My favorite words, hold it lightly. If someone says you must hold a brush this way, you can hear it and then hold it lightly. You don't have to hold the brush that way. You can hold it any way you want. You have to feel it. You feel the presence of spirit within you. You become aware of the spiritual sense of you that is eternal. That is what you're practicing when you go before the easel. You're practicing being in that state of the eternal spiritual you. This is a place that is not limited by the physical realm, the material realm. You don't have to hold the brush a certain way. You feel it and react. It might come out that you hold the brush in the perfect way that you were told by your instructor, but it might be that you decide to lay that brush down and you use your fingers. Or you grab something next to you, anything next to you, a pen, a pencil, a charger, a mouse pad. And in that moment of inspiration, you rub the paint on it and you smear it on the canvas and you get this most incredible, incredible texture because you were in the place of impulse, intuitive reaction, intuitively listening to your higher self. And your higher self is always telling you where to go. I did a great podcast on that, and I'd like to share that with you. Your higher self is always telling you a great place to go. You just have to listen for it. So this is about practicing getting into that space of consciousness and listening, just listening, listening to the impulse and what it's telling you. Do you hear me? So what I want to do here is I'm going to do a little meditation. And if you're driving or you're doing something physical that requires your focus, you might want to save this to later in the day. But if you're in a place right before the easel where you can actually get ready to prep, if you're ready to paint, you're in the studio, or you're just ready to be focused on something, let's do a little visual meditation, an intentional meditation to help you practice getting in that space. Okay? So I want you to find a space where you can sit on the floor, lay on the floor, sit in a chair, but I want you to be comfortable. I want you to be comfortable. Okay. Now, I want you to just take a deep breath, close your eyes, and breathe in through your nose. When I say take a deep breath, breathe in through your nose. I listened to an incredible podcast. Simon Sinek, Simon. He talked to this woman that is a deep water diver, and she learns to breathe through her nose. And when we breathe through our nose, there's a grounding experience. It's a more powerful breath than through our mouth. So close your mouth, breathe through your nose, and bring that air down into your diaphragm. Hold it for four, count of four, three, two, one. Release through your nose. Breathing in. Hold through a count of four. Release. What this does is it calms your sympathetic nervous system. It calms you down. It gets you grounded so that you're in this place. You're present. And part of presence is slightly noticing where you are. I want you to feel where you're sitting. I want you to feel where your body is connecting to the earth. Feel where your body is connecting to the earth. Feel that you're grounded. Take one more deep breath, and this time let it out through your mouth. When you let yourself focus on the silence, when you let yourself focus on the silence, when Chris stops prattling and talking, and you just listen to the room around you, that is when you are aligning with spirit. Now, don't panic when you're listening to silence, and your mind, your little self, will panic. It will try to fill you with thoughts. Did Chris go away? Is this meditation over? Do I need to be somewhere else? Just quiet. Say to your little mind, hey, guy, I hear you, but stand back. I am in the space of silence. Feel that that silence actually envelops your body and it grounds you into the place that you are. And it affirms that you're here and now in this body. You are spirit in body. You are both. So now I want to take us on a little visioning exercise to remind you that you are uniquely creative. So join me as we go on this lovely little walk in nature. So your consciousness can rise above your body and see yourself laying or sitting there in the room, knowing that it's safe and all is good, and let it release and fly above. Let go of all the problems of today and know that for the next 5-7 minutes, you're going to be present. You are here doing this meditation, and everything else can wait. And when you fly above, I want you to find yourself in this deep, beautiful forest, the kind of forest that you see in those old movies where Robin Hood and his men would walk through that big, lush fern on the ground and these tall, tall trees. See yourself in this beautiful forest with these tall trees surrounding you, vertical lines all around you, the light coming down, dappling on the floor of the ground. You see the leaves, you feel the leaves blowing in this gentle wind, and you hear birds. Oh, the birds are talking with each other. They're talking to you back and forth. The little twitters of finches gently jumping from leaf to leaf, and those trees surround you, that forest of possibilities. And so you see a path in front of you. This path is worn through. There's some lush saplings on each side, but this path is worn through and safe and clear and easy to walk. It's safe and clear and easy to walk. and you start walking on that path. There's nothing in your way. There's no stones or anything. You're just joyfully listening and feeling this perfect temperature. Oh my gosh, it's a perfect morning. And it's so quiet, with the exception of those birds. The spaces, focus on the space between the birds crying to each other. Each time, hear a bird, space, hear a bird. As you walk and you feel your body moving, your comfortable body, everything in perfect health, everything working in perfect harmony with this harmonious world around you, and you hear a brook. Which direction is that brook coming from? Hear the sound of water rushing over rocks. You don't see it yet, but you can imagine it's very clear water, very clean water. And you keep walking and you see there's this little kind of hole in the tree cover, like a walk-through place where there's just the trail breaks off. The trail, the heavy worn trail, breaks off into a less worn trail through this little dark hole in the woods. And you say, I'm going to go down there. I'm going to see this brook. I'm going to go see this brook. And you walk down and you go through the hole and it gets darker. It's a little darker. The air is cooler. Can you feel it on your body? Oh my gosh, I can feel my arms. I have a chill going through my body because I know that this is a sacred space. This is a sacred space. And I hear the water and I keep moving forward and I'm going down. I'm descending into a little gully and there's this beautiful creek. Water, clear, clear water rushing through the rocks. And you see a bird on the other side of the bank. You see a bird. I'm not sure if it's a bluebird or a red bird, but there's a bird over there and chirping, 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 and welcoming you to this sacred space. This is the space of spirit. This is the space of possibilities. This is the space where there's no limitation because this is the space in your mind and your consciousness. Breathe that in. Know that you are in a sacred space. You are a sacred space. And when you rest and you step away from the world and you brush down and let all those troubles go, that sacred space is always there. And that creek is beating, beating down. There's a harmony to it, a breath to it. It is powering you. For spirit is always bringing new things. And you look down the creek, or rather up the creek, where the water is coming from, and you see a small waterfall, not too high. You can kind of see the top of it, maybe 5, 6 feet up. You see this beautiful waterfall and these rocks and the trees lining it. And clearly, way, way up, you see clouds and this crisp blue sky far, far away. But you notice how beautiful the water is falling off of that waterfall. It is so beautiful. It's constantly bringing new ideas, new ideas. What do you see in your mind's eye? But one of those little white sailboats, you know, the paper sailboats that you made as a kid, a little paper sailboat. It's coming down the creek. Where the heck did that come from? Where the heck did that sailboat come from? But it's coming down right before the waterfall and it falls down the waterfall. It doesn't sink. It rights itself and it slowly approaches you. So you step over into the middle of the creek. You take a few steps and your feet, oh, the chill of the water. Another shiver goes through you. It's cool, but not cold. It's cool, but not cold. And you see this little boat coming down, bobbing. See it bobbing? It's going around all the rocks. It's going around that twig stuck in the water. It's coming towards you. And you realize that that little boat is an idea that's constantly flowing to you. Creative intelligence is always bringing you ideas. And you could grab it and pick it up and hold it to your breast, or you can let it go by. And it's coming closer to you. It's about 10 feet away, bobbing gently. And you take a deep breath and know that you are always in control. You are always in control, and you always have the choice of whether or not you want to grab that idea or not. And think about it. For For at the same time as that boat is closer to you, it's now 5 feet, it's getting closer. You're going to lean down. Could you lean down? You notice that there's hundreds of boats coming down the waterfall. Just these boats, all these boats, all different shapes and ideas. You know that there's so many ideas here that you don't have to grab this one. Do you let it go by or do you grab it? Do you wait for more? Do you wait for the other ideas coming to you? It's all open. You can do either. So you're standing here with your feet in the cool water, and the bird chirps one last goodbye and flies away, and those boats come to you. And I want you to gather one or two of those ideas. Realize that they represent creative intelligence, always providing you with an answer. And you know that you're going to pick those boats up and you hold them to your side as you take them back with you on this journey. So I want you to grab a couple of those ideas. And while you're grabbing those ideas, always remember that when you're doing this, you're totally present. You don't for a minute stop appreciating and having gratitude towards the beautiful green, chartreuse greens and the elms and the trees next to you. You almost wish you could see Robin Hood and his merry men. It almost seems that magical. It is that magical. For it has all the ideas in there. And you always appreciate where you are. You don't rush. There's no rush. Do you grab a couple more boats? Do you just look at the sky? Do you feel the trees? Do you feel your heartbeat? Knowing that you're alive in this wonderful, wonderful time, and you can choose and do whatever you want. When you go back and take this boat back to your easel and you walk into your studio, you can do whatever you want. You can use a brush, you can use a brayer, you can use oil, you can use acrylic, you can use watercolor. You can take leaves from your yard and press them into the paint and stick them on the canvas. You can use canvas, you can use wood, you can use paper, you can use board. All the possibilities. Oh my gosh, you're so excited because you know that one or two of those possibilities is going to jump up like they come down, like they're coming down this boat, this creek. They're going to jump out at you and announce themselves. And so, knowing what you've learned, I want you to step back out of the creek and get up on the bank. Take one last look at this beautiful sacred space, knowing that it's always here. At any time, you can go within and find it. So you turn around and you see the path that you took, winding back up the Raven to the light of the field of the bigger woods up above, and you start walking that way with the boats or boat in your hand, knowing that you are inspired at all times. And you go back up and you go through the hole into the woods, the greater woods, and you start heading back. Oh, you can see the woods get brighter and brighter and brighter. It's almost like they dissipate, almost like they fall away, and you float up into that sky, that crystal blue sky, the essence of you, the knowing of who you are, knowing that any technique, any skill is appropriate, right? And you come back to the room that you're in. And for a minute, before you go back down into the studio, into the physical realm, I want you to look at the room that you're sitting in from above. Look at you from above, from that above perspective, saying, I am so lucky to be alive. I am so blessed to be alive. And I have all that I need given to me from creative intelligence. And joyfully go back into your body. Go back into your body. Feel the ground beneath you. Feel the room. Breathe in through your nose. Hold for a count of 4. Release. Slowly open your eyes. Wow, what a journey. Thank you for going on that little meditation with me, that visioning meditation. I hope that it's inspired you to now go into the easel, go before the easel, go into your studio and be creative, and don't be limited. Don't be limited by anything. Pencils, pen, paper, whatever you want to choose. It's your choice, and just feel the impulse to do it. Feel the impulse to do it. So I want to thank you for joining me on this special little podcast here. And also listening to be kind of diary or journal or artist way about how I'm trying to define who I am and what is about a spiritual artist. Okay. So thank you for listening to the Spiritual Artist Podcast. Save this recording. Feel free to come back to this meditation. Let me know how much you liked it in the notes field. Or if you wanted something else, or if you saw something in the woods that you want to share, just put that in the notes field for me, would you? Let's make a conversation. Let's share this with the other artists. And know that if you're listening to this on a podcast channel, in the upper right corner, you can share it with a friend and say, hey, you got to listen to this. Do this next time you go to the studio. Next time you go to the studio and you're flooded with overwhelm and you don't know what to do and you have all these instructional books, just sit down and listen to that meditation. So thank you for listening to the Spiritual Artist Podcast. We'll see you soon. Have a good interview coming up next week. Have a great weekend. Thanks again for listening to the Spiritual Artist Podcast. Whether you're watching this show on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Play, or iHeartRadio, make sure you choose the subscribe button so that you will receive updates when new segments are released. Most importantly, be still, listen, and know that you are a spiritual artist.